Hello, everyone. Welcome to What's Your Story, a podcast series by Sashakt, where we explore the journeys of remarkable entrepreneurs. I, Jaideep Gupta, joined by my colleague Avishi Jain.
Today, we have the pleasure of talking with Mr. Sanjay Varnwal, the CEO and co-founder of Spyne, a company which is revolutionizing the way business creates the catalogs using the AI technology. Sanjay sir, it is great to have you with us. Your journey from a tech enthusiast to a leader in the entrepreneurial world is truly inspiring for us.
So, Sanjay, can you tell us a bit about your early days? Like what inspired you to to get into technology and then entrepreneurship?
Yeah, thanks, Jaideep and Avishi for inviting me for the podcast and great work that you guys are doing right now. Uh, yeah, it has been like a long and arduous journey for me. So graduated long back from IIT in 2005, and since then I've been part of like startups mostly in my career. Like though I started like very early from a large MNC, but quickly moved to a startup, and then I've been like associated with some of the early tech startups which have become big giants in future, like Soyos, Yatra, Fashion and You, Rocket Internet, one or two firms, then Amazon for a brief stint. So in most of these companies, like accumulated knowledge about how these startups are actually built, like so how they are dead focused on solving some real customer problems. And at a very early stage, what you need to do to build like a company which lasts longer, which sustains in tough times, good times, all these times, right? So entrepreneurship was always a motivation. So that was why I was always when the when some of our colleagues were joining the bigger companies, though I had always had like offers to join the bigger companies, but I stick to the startup world because I enjoyed building at a zero to one journey was the most fulfilling for me always, right? So learned about business, learned about technology, learned about like customers feedback, all of these aspects which are critical to business building a business, right? So I mean, 10, 12 years in the corporate journey, and then decided, ki, okay, now the time that if I do not do it right now, it might not ever happen. So jumped and started the journey of entrepreneurship in roughly like 2018 mid. And last 4, 5 years, I've been working on this particular venture. Yeah.
So basically, zero to one journey is quite requires a lot of input from one, like consistency and hard work. That's a lot of it takes, I guess. You mentioned that you had your early education from IIT, and we share the name tag, I guess. So, reflecting upon your time at IIT Kharagpur, how did your education actually shape the entrepreneurial spirit that you have?
Yeah, I mean, back in 2001 to 5, so I entered IIT at in 2001 and left at 2005, right? So in those days, entrepreneurship was not like an in thing,
Mm.
right? So most of us were either going after doing our MBAs or going for higher studies in the US or maybe taking up any software job in India, right? Or
Yeah.
consulting or finance job, these kind of jobs. So I come from business family, so always building a business was a motivation for me, right? So though, but what kind of business? The clarity was not there, right? So wanted to get into a zone where the businesses are built. Like so, in IIT, you always uh, get in touch with really sharp people, right? Who are
Mm.
very motivated to do like
Yeah.
big things in life and all these things, right? So those are the things that I learned that whatever, I mean, the kind of confidence a good university gives you that no, if you stick uh, really hard in something, right? So if you stick your brains into something, so you'll be able to do good job out of it, right? So that was always the confidence. Ki, okay, if I commit to something, I'll be able to build something really on which I'd be proud in future, right? So that was the thought process. So that was the confidence that I probably got from IIT education, not from the real education, but from the culture and from the like
Mm. From the
uh,
atmosphere of being around in the
atmosphere of
campus.
the
Yeah.
company, right? Yeah. So that basically helped, and
Mm.
yeah, eventually it basically landed me to various places and eventually culminated to the entrepreneurship journey. Yeah.
Sanjay, as you said that you always wanted to get into the zone where you get to know about how businesses are being built. So, like, what were some of the initial challenges you faced while transitioning from software engineer to entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I mean, my early days was as software engineer, but gradually as I moved further in my career, so took up like broader roles where handling engineering and product was the overall goals in the past like 5 6 years before I jumped into entrepreneurship, right? So when you start managing product and also a senior engineering leader, you understand the business intricacies inside out, right? So, and product is something which is closest to the customers because that is what your
Definitely.
customers are buying,
Hmm.
right? So, getting deeper into the product as well as a good exposure in technology helped me understand that okay, this is not a fancy idea, that's something someone is visualizing, but something that can be translated into the real world effectively, right? So when you also when you also understand the tech in depth, so that was the kind of building blocks in my journey of corporate world. So I always knew that okay, whenever I will start something in entrepreneurship, I'll be able to build some product which will be truly be useful for the consumers for which we'll be building for. Right. So that was the and once you crack really the product part of it, building business is the next step from it. Right. So so that was the initiation, right? So we when I jumped into entrepreneurship after leaving Oyo, mid of 2018, we started with some idea that I mean sadly didn't scale, but that gave us the way to what we are building right now at Spyne, right? But that idea also worked pretty well in its target segment of customers, but was not really a big idea on which a company could have been built. Big company could have been built, right? So that's when we did a small pivot to basically a hard pivot to get to where we are right now in about like 1 to 2 years of my journey in the early journey of entrepreneurship, right? Yeah.
Since you mentioned Oyo, I would like to tell my audience that prior to working on your own business, you had experience at Amazon, at Oyo, and at Yatra. So, my question is, how did these roles at these multiple organizations contribute to your understanding of technology and business, basically?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll tell you. So Yatra, when I joined, it was in its early growth phase, right? So
Hmm.
I got a chance to view how a business growth really happens, right? So from let's say sub 2,000 orders a day to maybe 20,000 orders a day, right? So how many, what your customers are saying, how to solve for scale, and all of these things, right? How to gradually solve for scale. Not like when you join Amazon, you always know, okay, this is a
Hmm.
system that will always be launched at scale.
Hmm. Hmm.
You see things growing. So that was one of the experiences, most valuable experiences that I got while working at Yatra for almost like 3+ years. Then um, then probably at Oyo, when we were just revamping the entire product stack in Oyo, building for the hotel ecosystem, operations
Hmm.
ecosystem, areas at Oyo. So that was also a very fulfilling time because Oyo was uh, in hyper growth mode at that particular point of time, right? So we basically scaled a lot of product and technology which enabled Oyo to achieve that kind of hyper growth
Hmm.
in the phase, right? So all of these stints basically taught me as a professional how to build systems that will work mostly at like a maybe 1 to 10 scale. So these are not the experiences where I invested more on 0 to 1, right? But 1 to 10 scale is something where I got like a very strong grip while working at these companies. Of course, Amazon is altogether a different scale when I joined. So, but yeah, these were the learnings that were pivotal in building like the product.
So, can we conclude from this that when you work with a startup like Yatra or Oyo when it is in a revamping phase, it's rather better than working with a big company, a giant company like Amazon or Flipkart, let's say?
I mean, there are two, two. I believe there are two different types of people that exist,
Yeah.
possibly, right? So one is who's the entire. I mean, you have to find out your priorities, right? So no two persons are same. So someone like I cannot work in like a big setup, structured environment where things are all defined and you just need to play your part and get that things done well. So
Yeah.
maybe that is not the kind of environment where I can excel, right? So, but there will be people who will excel in that kind of a structured environment, right? So so yeah, I mean both have its own pros and cons. So, but
Definitely.
I believe that if you really want very accelerated growth path in your career, then startups, the way India is also evolving in the coming decade, right? So a lot of startups
Yeah.
will pave the way to build like the 8 or 10 trillion dollar economy in the next 7 8 years in the country, right? So most of these exponential growth would happen because of startups in India, right? So I think people who are really who really have growth in their career can do better if they get associated with the companies who are in that particular growth phase. If you get into, let's say, Microsoft. So Microsoft is not not to take any names, but let's say a very large company. If you get into that kind of company's environment, which is growing maybe 10 to 15% year on year, right? You might not see the kind of challenges that a hyper growth startup would
Yeah.
face, right? So maybe yeah, depends on the person. So are you ready to take up that kind of a challenge, right? So are you willing to invest yourself in building this? So yeah, I think depends on the person. So I'm the second type of person who enjoys the startup world much more than the corporate world, right? The
Yeah.
established corporate world.
Actually, I believe I also have an inclination towards that only.
Yeah.
So Sanjay, now let's dive deeper into Spyne. But first, we want to know like what's with this name of this company, like why Spyne and what's the significance behind it, and how does Spyne empower the small businesses and individual sellers?
Yeah, so I mean, so when we were thinking of building the brand name of the company, also I actually wanted to take a name which is very catchy, right? So catchy,
Yeah.
small, not like carmerchandising.com or
Mm.
uh,
Yeah,
companies, right? So carphotos.com, which are like not bad, but but something which has broader vision, which can excel, become like bigger, and that name will not be constraining in nature, right? So Spyne was one of the names which initially we thought to be apt because of its like sound, one, and the second is it is the backbone of any kind of merchandising, right? So we were looking at key, though a lot of people say that this is very similar to medical kind of a thing, a lot of people get confused, but the idea was that we are looking to build the backbone for the sellers, internet sellers, which are like, can we capture the entire merchandising and marketing part eventually, right? So, and then get them sell faster, better, and at higher prices. So Spine was the backbone of digital merchandising. That's of what we thought, and then we went ahead with it. And also the domain name was available. So some of the that we were thinking of as not available, we didn't want to spend like lakhs of rupees in purchasing those
yeah,
domains.
that also needs to be considered.
Yeah.
Can we throw some more light on the empowering the small businesses and individual sellers?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, see, the thesis of the company was that I always worked in the e-commerce sector and primarily in the supply side where vendors were getting onboarded, their products were listed on the platform. So those were the areas where I invested a large part of my career. So
Okay.
I knew this particular problem inside out, that any seller which is looking to sell online actually has to get their products cataloged for the internet website or the marketplaces, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this cataloging is a fundamentally very challenging aspect. At least like few years back it was, even now it is. So every, let's say you are a food merchant, or you are a fashion merchant, or you are a real estate hotel owner, right? Or maybe a dealership in the car or automotive space. So you'd always want to present your product in a best possible manner, right? So in every industry, there are professional agencies or the photographers who can get the best quality photography done for your
Mm-hmm.
product.
Mm.
So you will hire either a food photographer or a fashion photographer or a real estate photographer who can come to your place and do the product shoot. So
Mm.
most of the agencies and these categories have their guidelines defined that this is how a food has to be shot versus this is how real estate has to be shot versus a fashion model has to be shot. So if you see Mintra versus if you see like a product shoot on Mintra versus we see the same product shoot on OLX, right, which is a P2P kind of a
Mm.
platform where the users are self-uploading their product, right? So the thing was that this hiring these agencies is extremely complex, extremely expensive, and also very much a tier one phenomena. Right. So you have tier two,
Yes.
tier three cities where you will not be able to access these kind of agencies. Right. Good agencies who can do your shoots well. So only top maybe 1% or 2% sellers have access to these expensive agencies. And these are
Mm.
the sellers who are doing well
Yeah.
on online platforms because they understand that in order to sell well on online platforms, you need to get your products catalog in the best possible manner, right? But 98 to 99% of the sellers did not have that kind of awareness as well. That better quality images can get their product sell faster as well as on higher price
Mm.
compared to bad looking images,
Mm.
right? So we actually wanted to democratize this particular space where some of these product shoot guidelines which are very specific to category, we wanted to build a technology where you me or I mean thousands of people on ground, when they use an app, that app will understand what category is getting shot and will guide you. Hey, you should only be doing top shot. This product is getting cropped. The lighting is not well, right?
Mm.
Coming smaller. There's lot much disturbance around the product, the subject. So the camera basically guides you to shot the best quality image first, based on the category that you are pointing it to,
Mm.
how many shots to be taken, all of these things, right? So first is like camera part, which can guide thousands of users shoot consistently. Second is we basically transform that particular subject to something in a very premium studio like setting. And
Mm.
third is like publishing to standard marketplaces or the websites, right? So now if you can build an app which basically can enable thousands of people shoot, if not better than the professional photographers, but maybe 90% of that particular quality, that could become like a huge enabler. Because right now
Mm.
the quality level is 10% if they are doing on their own, right? That app can bring the quality level to maybe 80 to 90%, which may be 10% shorter in quality, inferior in quality compared to the expensive photographers, but maybe 95% cheaper, which
Mm.
can which can open up large access to the long tail sellers. So that was the idea, and we launched it in e-commerce, automotive, and various spaces, and we saw the technology picking up, right? So automotive was the first use case which worked for us. Then second use case, we recently launched our technology on Swiggy. So Swiggy,
Okay.
we are the default camera engine within Swiggy's POS now, right? So every restaurant owners in the country,
Mm.
basically we are the default photography. Anytime our ad photo or the shoot photo happens on
Mm.
Swiggy, it mandatorily goes through Spyne application, camera application, right? So now lakhs of merchants, lakhs of restaurant owners can on their own shoot the food quality like a photographer, right?
Mm.
So so we basically spread this particular technology to tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 kind of cities, and now the aim is to like make everyone behave like a professional photographer and get their images in a very high quality that can help them sell faster and better. So that was the idea, and
It's
early stage was
mm.
working.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating, like how such a small thing like photography can actually drive the consumer behavior. Their purchasing decision, and picking up a gap and be building a startup on that. It's really intriguing, I say.
Yeah.
Talking about that, what are the unique challenges did you encounter while building the Spine's AI and computer vision technology with respect to market, basically?
Yeah, so I mean, I being a techie, always I was always interested in new things happening in the space. So computer vision was one of the things that I was already always fascinated about. 3, 4,
Mm.
5 years back when there was no Gen AI in
Yeah.
the real world. right? So
Mhm.
maybe one or two companies across the globe, very few companies across the globe were doing some research projects, not yet in mainstream. So this technology which we envision that that can work on the application can only be made possible, could have only been made possible if like built using computer vision at its base, because you are playing with the images, right? So detection, which is like classification, and transformation, which is
Mhm.
GAN based transformation models, are the two family of algorithms which we built in various products, right? So yeah, we were one of the early adopters of computer vision, which basically commercialized this entire shooting and merchandising ecosystem some 2 3 years back. I mean, last year this entire Gen AI basically picked up, right, across the globe,
Mhm.
and chat GPT and stability, all these things
Yeah.
happened. But we were doing it almost like 2 years minus of chat GPT slash stability. And now we are basically specializing in some of the verticals which are very deep and probably will not be touched upon by the generic AI companies which are building for everything. We are not building for everything. We are actually solving one category, like I'm best in the globe, maybe, right? So automotive solved in a way which cannot be done by any other company. So that will give us a right to win in that particular space. So that was the approach that we took, and we are going into extreme depth in solving like one category first, and then probably moving to the next one after that. Yeah.
Sanjay, I mean, this business looks quite interesting. So now, if we talk about the product development and team management, so how do you maintain innovation and efficiency at Spine?
Yeah, I mean, the company is quite open, like just like any emerging startup, which are innovative in nature. So you'll have to set up the culture in a way where innovation is like coming grounds up, right? So we set up a team where we are very experimental in nature, right? So there's a small group of researchers, about 10 to 12 people in computer vision and research team, which keep on and the product managers along with it, which keep on exploring what is it that our customers are asking, what is it that is feasible, right? And we keep on doing like small POCs, keep on testing it on the ground, whether it will work, whether it will not work, and all of these things. Of course, some of the POCs that we do are very much driven by business needs, right? So we first understand whether the customer would be needing it, right? And then basically do quick POCs, 1 or 2 months POCs. Maybe in some cases, some of the POCs can stretch to as much as like 3 to 6 months as well. Like we have been doing some of the deeper research work in our company as well. So yeah, I mean, this kind of setup, which basically is risk taking, right? Which is patient, because the results in computer vision space will not come like, I mean, today you decided and you expect something tomorrow or day after tomorrow, it will not happen. So you need to like be patient in the research and be like continuously in the evolving stage. So that kind of mindset is helping us in building some of the some of the technologies or some of the products which are really useful for the ecosystem for which we are building right now, right? And then we have teams which are specialized in sales, marketing, customer success, right? So product technology. So all of these teams are supporting. But as a company, we are built with like a core research and innovation at its center, right? And then everything around it, customer and research innovation. I would say like both things at the center, and then everything surrounds it.
Okay. So what do you believe are the current threats to the startup, or the growth in the given industry right now?
What in our
In
context? Or
in yes, no, in our contracts, in the photography and the AI and the technology, if we're talking about it.
I think you need to choose your battles here, right? So if you want to build everything, then probably it will not work, because Google or Microsoft would possibly would do it. But Microsoft or Google possibly will not solve automotive in depth. And that is like too much for
Yeah.
them, right? So that is the kind of thought process that we have applied, that hey, let's not be too thin in our approach. Let's, whatever we do like extremely in depth, and and pick up battles which are winnable in nature, right? So So that's why we focused on automotive as a sector in the last 2 years, and we are able to win customers from some of the extremely large competitors of ours because of the quality
Mm.
that we are able to
Mm.
build. So right now the AI that we have created is globally the best in automotive domain, right?
Okay.
And that is helping us in building the real business out of it right now.
Okay. So, it, like reflecting upon your journey from an IIT student to working at big ventures with the other companies like Amazon, Yatra, Oyo, then working on your own startup, you have like a whole bunch of experience. So, what is that one piece of advice that you would like to give to the aspiring entrepreneurs?
I think aspiring entrepreneurs will have to understand that what is their specific superpower, right? So
Mm.
one superpower on which you will be building your journey in future, right? So you'll have to either be extremely good at product or extremely good at marketing slash sales, or right. So one of these things should be like your core areas where you can do job better than no one everyone else, right? So that should be the mindset, or kind of there's like one. The second is entrepreneurship is a hard journey, right? So if you're not truly committed to the vision why you started it, right? So you'll probably give up because you'll face possibly 20 different challenges, right?
Mm.
So 20 different challenges which are existential, which could be existential in nature, right? So uh, you know like startup failure rate is so high across the industry, right? So only 2 to 3% actually are able to make it
Survive. Yeah.
eventually, right? So why is the failure rates are so high? Because you keep on facing challenges in terms of market, in terms of investments, in terms of team, in terms of product not selling well, in terms of like your key guys leaving, so many things happening, right? So you're not able to meet the salary.
Mm.
So you will have to build like extremely thick skin and extremely like a patient, maybe perseverant nature, which can help you uh, go past through some of these hurdles that you will face. And these hurdles will be slightly extremely tougher than the ones you will face in your job life, right? So but if you do it well and regularly, probably you will be able to make it out, because uh, 2 3 years, you'll if you give it like 2 3 years, you are able to sustain, you have higher chances of success, right? So most of the entrepreneurs actually give in the first 1 or 2 years of its journey, right?
Yeah.
So we need to like get past that particular uh, milestone maybe, and but also continue, not stick to something which is not working, right? So also very sharp business brain to evaluate what is not working and how to make it work, right? Iterate, move fast.
Mm.
Something is not working, the market is saying okay, this is not the product that will work, pivot, move to something which can work, right? And commit, grow, test, all of these things, right? So and keep solving the challenges.
Yeah. So, Sanjay, how do you see the future of AI in transforming businesses and startups, especially in a country like India?
In India, I think India, probably China, US, these three countries would be the forefront of AI research in the coming years, right? Coming years and possibly the decade. So, of course, so many research institutes in the country, and we are a country with like very deep mathematical grooming, right? So one of the best engineering uh, engineers are produced from the Indian institutes, right? So I think we have all the core blocks set up well. So and then the kind of entrepreneurship drive that India has right now, in future we will be looking at like building some of the leading AI first companies from India, which is already happening. Probably we would like to be one of them in the coming days as well. But yeah, I think India is well poised to not only grow its economy but also grow the innovative. I mean, some of the solutions that we will be building will can truly be innovative in the. Yeah.
Okay. Since we're talking about future, so what is next for you and the spine? We would like to know that. And are there any upcoming projects or vision that you can share with us and our audience?
So we are specializing now in the automotive space, and we
Hmm.
have figured out that, I mean, globally, automotive is a extremely large industry, right? So US, Europe, if you see, so we are right now concentrating on the used cars market, merchandising this entire used car space. But gradually, we'll get into new car space as well. So creation of all these kinds of media assets, which is photos, videos, 360, automated detection of dents, damages, which are like huge industry application in terms of insurance, rental cars, dealerships everywhere, right? So building these kind of grounds up AI first products, and then solving this merchandising as a whole as an ecosystem where we want to enable the dealers in the bigger countries, developed countries, as well as in the developing nations with the Shopify for dealers kind of ecosystem, which is not
Hmm.
yet existing in the industry, right? So a large opportunity for the next decade to play on. So we want to we are already getting those early signs where the dealers in the US and Europe are 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 using our product. We are signing up like maybe 30 to 50 odd dealers every month right now, looking to expand this, like accelerate this velocity to about 200, 300 dealers every month. So so yeah, exciting path ahead. And after the dealers or the automotive industry will probably dealer automotive, maybe the large OEMs like Audis, BMWs, and Toyotas of the world. So we are also looking to open up new verticals, which are primarily like e-commerce and food.
Okay.
E-commerce like subset food is, and fashion. Like so, these two three verticals we are looking to open as well in the coming quarters.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, so let us conclude it now. Sanjay, it was really an enlightening conversation. Your journey and insights are truly invaluable to our listeners.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, sir. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing. Yeah.
Thank you.
For sharing your story and experiences with us because it was quite intriguing. I mean, there were a lot of learnings, especially how picking up such a small gap and building up a startup on that and use combining it with the AI and technology and how you are putting it all into the automotive industry and expanding into the other verticals as well. It's quite a lot of learning there. And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on What's Your Story, and stay tuned for inspiring entrepreneurial journeys. Thank you.
Thank you, Rishi. Thank you.
Thank you so
Uh,
much.